Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new week out there so far. We got a few things to talk about in this morning's video. Unfortunately, severe weather is another topic in this morning's video as it has increased for later on this afternoon into this evening for areas of the southeast. Now, I think today will be comparable to yesterday. And yesterday we did have actually confirmed tornadoes. We had one in central Georgia. It was a classic looking supercell embedded in a line of storms. So hopefully, today we don't have any tornadoes, but the atmosphere does support it in areas, and especially northern Florida, areas of Georgia and South Carolina, which is where I live. So, of course, my eyes are really focused on this event for later on this afternoon. So we're going to break that down. Right here towards the beginning of the video, we'll discuss it. We'll break it down state by state. We'll talk about Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, and North Carolina specifically. And then we'll talk about everybody else after that. We'll speak on a little bit of snow for areas in the Northeast and the Great Lakes region. And we'll speak on everywhere else. And starting tomorrow, and tomorrow morning's video, we'll begin to look forward. What's next? We've been so focused in on the last week of severe weather and what's going on right in front of us. When things typically slow down on my channel, I like to discuss what we're seeing going forward. So we'll start to talk about the medium, the long-range forecast. Are we seeing any other strong storm systems out there, a signal for it? We'll speak on that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you hear any noise in the background, our new dog is going crazy trying to fight with all 5 of my cats, and there's just a lot of chaos going on the other side of this door right now. So yeah, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. I've not answered or really read any comments over the weekend. I normally catch up with them on a Monday afternoon from all the stuff over the weekend, so I'll do that. I'll read everything, get caught up with all of it, and pray over your prayer requests. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is what's going on right now. We got a lot of energy across the eastern states. We even got some snow flying around the interior sections of the Northeast. We got some snow also up here in northern sections of lower Michigan and the UP of Michigan. We got some showers and storms down here in the southeast. We will watch as the atmosphere becomes unstable for areas of the southeast. We'll speak on that here in a second out ahead of this main area of energy. The middle of the country is pretty quiet, pretty stable, cooler for sure. And then we have some energy that has entered, well, it entered yesterday, the Pacific Northwest in the form of just rain and very high elevation snow, things like that. So that's what's going on right now. Watch as warnings and advisories. We have a lot of freeze warnings in this purple. Make sure that is freeze warnings. It is. So a lot of freeze warnings across the middle of the country. So it's quite cold out there. That's why, a lot of people talk a lot on holding off planning, even though you'll get 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row of nothing but warm weather. You're thinking, well, winter is completely over. There's no way we're going to have another night in the 30s, and then bang, you do. It seems to happen almost every single year. I have not planted my flowers yet, and typically I've already have. It's normally the first weekend of April. I'm actually going to do it this coming weekend. I feel a lot more comfortable doing it. But even some people even view that kind of early. So anyways, it's cold out there. We got some winter weather advisories across the UP of Michigan, one county in Wisconsin, a few counties closer to the Tug Hill Plateau in New York, and northern Maine has some winter weather advisories also, and some flood watches continue up for areas of Georgia, Alabama, and I would not be surprised if we get this extended a little bit into the Carolinas over the next several hours per updates from the National Weather Service. Now let's talk about the severe weather threat and the flooding threat. So we do have a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, that extends from the northern areas of the Bend of Florida, the areas of Panhandle of Florida and northern Florida, all the way up through southeast Georgia, into the Midlands of South Carolina and the southern Midlands and the low country of South Carolina. This does include just south of Columbia down to Hilton Head, Savannah, all of southeast Georgia, just about it does include Tallahassee, almost getting into Jacksonville, Gainesville. So level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. A marginal risk goes around it in the dark green, level 1 out of 5 of severe weather. We call that a marginal risk. I don't expect an upgrade to an enhanced risk or anything like that, but of course, like I always say, I've said that before, and it happens at times. So what's driving this? Let's just back up and look at the tornado outlook. So if you live in that brown area, that's where we have a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. The green area is a 2% risk of a tornado. So, I mean, that 5% risk does extend all the way up into South Carolina. It's interesting. I'm obviously a little bit more interested in this just because it's in my neck of the woods here in my state of South Carolina. But it's an interesting little event that's definitely uptrended over the last 48 hours for sure. And then we do have a damaging wind threat. If you live in that yellow area, that is where we have a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Now, we don't have much of a hail threat today. Really poor lapse rates, not a lot of cold air aloft. So there's just not much. These storms are not really going to produce much hail, if any, today. So we don't really have to worry about that. But you never know. One storm might do it out there. It happens. But the risk of flash flooding, if you live in the green area, that's a marginal risk, which means there's at least a 5% risk of flooding occurring within 25 miles in any given location in the green area. Then we continue to have the 15% risk down here in southern Alabama and the extreme western panhandle of Florida for really what's going on right now. So let's break it down state by state. Let's talk about Florida first. So the time frame's up here. It says 9 a.m. So we're going to start this off then. We already got some areas of showers and storms crossing over the panhandle of Florida. We'll take it till about lunchtime. Some of these storms will start to mature, get stronger. So, Panama City, Tallahassee, everywhere in between could begin to get some strong to severe storms. And there is a 5% risk of a tornado in this area. So be aware of that. We'll be working with probably much better thermodynamics down here, meaning better surface moisture, higher temperatures, probably higher Cape level storm energy, things like that. So these storms will start to hit Tallahassee probably around lunchtime after, and then they'll begin to cruise down the interstate. And by the time you get to about 5, 6 p.m., they're kind of between Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Gainesville, still producing or posing that tornado risk, damaging wind threat. And then by the time we're into 6, 7, 8 o'clock, they're hitting the bend of Florida, Perry, Gainesville, starting to get into Jacksonville. And by the time we're into this evening, these start to get all the way to the southeast coastline. You start to get some showers and storms maybe as far south as Tampa. I don't think there'll be much in the way of any kind of severe elements to this, but it could be. And then all this begins to weaken as you just kind of lose the ingredients. And by the time you get into the middle of the night tonight in central and north central Florida, I think this weakens into just some scattered downpours. But it's really after lunchtime today. Let's back it up where, we could get that tornado threat. And I'll kind of circle an area kind of right through here. So just be careful with that tornado threat today in this area with this kind of broken up line of storms that will cruise across the panhandle and northern sections of Florida. Now let's speak on Georgia and South Carolina. We'll include 2 states in this. So we'll start off this morning. We got some storms, some heavy rain out there. Time frame is up here. This is 8 a.m. All right, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Another round of rain begins to enter the entire kind of western, northwestern portion of South Carolina. We got some storms starting to get a little bit stronger down here in central areas of Georgia. The more red you see, the pink you see, the stronger these cells, the more kind of blobs of yellow and whatever color you want to call this, bluish. That's more so just some heavy rain. So we get a round of heavy rain that moves in around late morning, midday, through the Midlands of South Carolina. Still raining pretty good in the upstate of South Carolina, but we start to get some stronger storms down here in central Georgia. By the time we're in lunchtime, they get even stronger, and then we get to 1 p.m., 2 p.m. This is when all the storms begin to get stronger. So, you got this entire area that's not getting anything right here. So the atmosphere really isn't getting tapped into. It's becoming unstable. It hasn't been worked up yet by showers and storms. So it's beginning to get more primed for storms to kind of move into it. And then the storms move in and it kind of eats up all the ingredients in the atmosphere. So we get that off. We continue to roll here. So these storms right here are beginning to intensify. And it's like they begin to intensify just east or around Columbia, just east, southeast, just probably just outside of Columbia. That's why the slight risk goes right up into here. But that doesn't mean Columbia isn't going to get any strong to severe storms later on this morning into this afternoon. But all these could begin to have ingredients to start producing tornadoes. So this is 3 p.m. This is 4 p.m. This is going to be more of a linear look, meaning just kind of a line of storms, but we're going to have embedded spin-ups in this line and could have embedded supercells like we did around Macon yesterday in Georgia where we had a confirmed tornado, I believe. But we get to 5 p.m., 6 p.m., I think more just heavier rounds of rain begins to move into Macon, Augusta, Columbia, especially Rock Hill. Still raining up in Greenville. But like I said, there's a reason why you're getting more intense colors right in here rather than right in here is because this air mass is becoming more stable. This air mass is still unstable. So these storms are still working into that air mass and they're still intensifying. And then they move in and then they weaken. So around 8 p.m., these start to hit the Georgia coastline, the South Carolina coastline. And just remember, all these storms can produce some very strong winds. They could produce a tornado. Not all of them are going to produce a tornado, but all of them have a risk of producing that in the 5%, even the 2% risk area. So, storms begin to intensify really around, I would say, 1 p.m. lunchtime, and then they continue to very slowly cruise across these states. Now, flooding is going to be a threat in some of these areas. And one thing that I'm going to show you guys on the fly here, because I totally forgot to bring it up, and I'm literally just thinking about it now, is let's look at the forecast for rain in this area. Let's look at this. So rainfall between now, and let's just go on and take it to the next 48 hours. So we're going to get over an inch in Columbia, an inch and a half in Augusta, same thing in Macon, and a little bit less near the coast, but still a half an inch to an inch of rain. Myrtle Beach, an inch. Florence, so an inch. Give or take is the general theme out here. So this could definitely pose a flooding risk. And we're going to get some heavy rain potential down here in the Panhandle of Florida. And I forgot to show you guys that inch or two of rain as possible. Then we head up here to North Carolina, Virginia. Let's not ignore the tornado threat up here. But this is 10 a.m. mid-morning. Just kind of more so blobs of heavy rain. We get into about midday. You start to see more brightening of these colors, more yellows, reds, orange. That means that these storms are beginning to intensify. We get into 3 p.m., we get into 4 p.m., and it's the same thing I just talked about for South Carolina and Georgia. We got to watch this area. It becomes more unstable where the energy is not worked in yet. So that's what we'll watch for. And, we get into 5 p.m., we got some intense storms beginning to get going here around Raleigh, points north. And then, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., it doesn't look as intense as it is compared to like South Carolina and Georgia. But listen, you guys could easily get a spin up embedded in all of this heavy rain and storm activity. This is around 5 p.m. Some storms trying to get up to Richmond. Raleigh, Fayetteville getting some rounds of heavy rain and storms. And everything just looks more blobby up here, if that makes any sense. Like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Heavier rain in the eastern sections of North Carolina, Virginia, and then finally everything clears out by tomorrow morning, and then I can confidently say that we're done for severe weather, at least with this system. So let's look at same thing because I forgot to pull it up. Shame on me. We'll look at rainfall between now and the next 48 hours. We could get even more rain up in North Carolina and Virginia than South Carolina and Georgia. But, the Greensboro, Raleigh over to Greenville, Fayetteville, Charlotte corridor could get 1 to 2 inches of rain over the next 36 to 48 hours. Richmond, 1.5 inches. Virginia Beach. So a lot of rain is going to fall in these areas. It's going to wash a lot of pollen away. You just don't want it too fast, right? So the updraft Felicity swath. Listen, this is interesting. This continues to uptrend. This indicates where we can have, in this case, I think it indicates more so the stronger updrafts and rotating updrafts, so we can have a spin in the atmosphere. This is one model run. So watch how it lights up in South Carolina and areas of Georgia. So this goes all the way pretty much through the entirety of the event. Look at these intense streaking colors in South Carolina and Georgia. To me, this is trying to tell us that I think we're going to get a couple tornado warnings in Georgia and South Carolina today. Obviously, it favors the highlighted 5% risk areas, but those are some intense updrafts that this particular model run is showing. So it's interesting to me. We're going to have some gusty winds with this too. But certainly something to watch, guys. I really think that it's got a weird feeling today that we're going to get a few tornadoes today across Georgia and South Carolina. And then we're going to get some gusty winds, 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts are certainly going to be possible with the strongest storms. The HRRR model really picks up on that, exactly where the Storm Prediction Center is highlighting the highest risk of severe weather. So it's cool when you see model guidance match up well and vice versa with what the folks, actual humans, are saying at the Storm Prediction Center. So definitely some gusty winds with these storms. And then, we go on and take our way up into North Carolina and Virginia. We're going to get some strong winds with this too. And, I wouldn't ignore some sort of boundary up in Virginia for that tornado threat, because we like to get isolated spin-ups along a boundary sometimes, like a cold air damming boundary where we have the changing of winds in a very small area. This creates a little spin in the atmosphere. And let's see if the HRRR model picks up on that at all. Not really, but it does show some rotating updrafts in southeast North Carolina. So tornado threat, I think, is legit today. When I say legit, I don't mean, a 10, 15% risk, but I think that it's a decent 5% risk today, and we just need to take it serious for sure, guys. So definitely do that. Now, moving past this, thankfully, because hopefully we can get through today perfectly fine, but there is a risk. So the Northeast today, we're getting some wet snow flying around out there. We could continue to get that throughout the day. We get into Monday afternoon. It's the same thing up in southern New England, in the I-95 corridor. It just takes forever for this system to escape the eastern seaboard. So you think it's over, and then we get another round of cold rain and even some wet snow in southern New England. And then finally it begins to clear out. But it even tries again to get going later on tonight. Here it goes. More moisture gets thrown back into the northeast coastline, and then we start to get some cold air trying to catch up with this finally, and then the downeast areas of Maine begins to get snow, and then we have kind of a connection of energy here. So tomorrow morning, waking up to just a cold April snowy morning up here in the New England area. And listen, we can just get flat out accumulating snow up here in Maine, most of the state of Maine. And we can actually just get some, and we're getting into tomorrow, which I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but we're going to get just a blustery, cold, wintry-like day across the entire Northeast just about. Even some snow flurries can make it all the way to the I-95 corridor. Look at all this snow shower activity in Ohio, West Virginia, PA. So just pretty wild, because it'll be April 8th tomorrow, but hey, it happens. It's not totally uncommon. But several inches of wet snow. If you live in this pink area, guys, that's where you could get over 6 inches of snow over the next 36 to 48 hours. A little bit of snow down here in the downeast areas and the southern areas of Maine, but several inches of wet snow up here. Green and White Mountains are going to get a little snow. This isn't totally uncommon down here, guys, so I don't want you guys to think that this is some rare, weird event. It's still early April. It happens. It can happen in Maine. It can happen in May up here. But a few inches of wet snow in the Adirondacks, Tocqueville Plateau, someone can get 6 inches of snow between now and early Wednesday morning. So pretty crazy stuff. Even the Berkshires could get some snow. The south central U.S., it's quiet. I mean, there's nothing to speak on. Thankfully, you continue to get that breath of fresh air after all that severe weather, but there's nothing to speak on. And then the north central U.S., we're going to continue to get this rounds of heavy snow, and then we'll get a little bit of backfilling with the snow. So the eastern UP, lower Michigan, will get some blustery snow showers today, kind of lake enhanced, so someone can pick up, a little bit of accumulating snows between now and 2 a.m. Wednesday, and we could get a few more inches of snow up here in the UP of Michigan. Not a whole lot, but definitely some. Lower Michigan, couple inches of wet snow up here in the northern sections. So, and then the western U.S., Pacific Northwest will continue to get rounds of rain. Could even get some thunderstorms up here today. I would not rule it out. Some thunderstorms across Washington and Oregon, especially the eastern sections of the state. And then we'll get a little energy. Trying to makes it into the northern Rockies And then another system enters the Pacific Northwest. So it's just kind of, you're right up here in just the avenue of energy up here in the Pacific Northwest for now. But everybody else is pretty quiet. Temperatures today, it'll be a weird day of temperatures across the southeast, because if you warm up before the storms hit you today in areas of like the Carolinas, Georgia, and northern Florida, if you're able to warm up, then, I mean, you could get all the way to 90 degrees a day. But if the rain kind of moves in midday, then it's going to stifle your temperatures. It's not going to allow for your temperatures to really warm up much. So it's a weird temperature day across the southeast. Very tough to figure out. But, you know, it just depends on if it rains earlier in the day or not. But the northeast will be a chilly day, 40s, 30s. South central U.S. trying to warm back up, but it'll be a chilly day across areas of the deep south. And just in general, I mean, not a very warm day across the eastern U.S. in general, unless you live in portions of the southeast. But you're warming back up across areas of the western U.S. Some areas could get into the 60s and 70s. A lot of areas into Montana, up the high plains. It'll stay chilly across the, you know, the upper Midwest, but Southwest looks nice. Guys, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. A little shorter video, which to me a shorter video is like 20 minutes. So y'all have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there in the southeast. You know, it's a sneaky tornado day for sure. You know, it was a day that, to me, a couple days ago did not look bad at all. But it's not bad. It's just a day you got to watch out for. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. And I'll talk to you again soon.